A lot of people cleaning up tonight after an F0 tornado blew right through parts of Brevard County. For many, very rude awakening at 7:30 this morning. The tornado hit a 7-mile stretch, including the Hacienda del Sol estates on South Merritt Island. Fox 35's Patrick Pegues has a look.
Large trees couldn't stand the brunt of the weather, but for many, this wasn't the worst of the damage. Broken roof tiles, pieces of a fence litter a yard, and a boat that's supposed to be in the water. Debris is scattered as far as the eyes can see. It only took the storm minutes to blow through, but many here will be picking up the pieces for days. There are windows that need cleaning, cars that needing a wash down, and maybe some repairs.
I woke up this morning, there's a tree on my car over there. Couldn't drive.
Downed power lines also kept crews busy. Trees toppled like dominoes along a tropical trail, causing lines to break and burn. Tom the peacock isn't too happy with the damage. In dollars, the cost of this tornado still hasn't been determined, but many people in this area feel they got off easy. In Brevard County, I'm Patrick Pegues, Fox at 5.
And viewers have been sending in pictures. This one is from David Smith. A giant tree just landing right on top of a car. The owner's probably not too happy about that.
From WFTV, this is Channel 9 Eyewitness News at 6. Coverage you can count on.
It's tonight's major story.
An EF0 tornado cut through Brevard County. The twister touched down while many of us were still asleep this morning and swirled for about 6 miles from Viera to Merritt Island. Our team coverage continues this hour with meteorologist Brian Shields and Channel 9's Kevin Oliver. Kevin, only one woman suffered minor injuries, but you've been working to find out if there was enough damage to declare a disaster.
Well, there were 280 homes in Viera alone that were damaged by this tornado. Most of them had screened-in enclosures like this one that were just ripped down. The winds were estimated between 65 and 85 miles per hour, but as you can see, people are already hard at work trying to clean things up and make repairs. It will take days, if not weeks or months, to repair everything. A relatively small tornado tore down in central Brevard County in a matter of seconds. Across Viera, dozens of homeowners stared in disbelief at all the pool enclosures ripped apart in the 6 Mile Creek subdivision.
It's lucky it's just this part of the house, it's not the whole thing.
After the storm passed, neighbors checked on neighbors to make sure everybody made it through unscathed. The heavy rain and tornado warnings kept children who might normally be walking to school or waiting for buses inside and out of harm's way.
It could have been a lot worse, and we're very fortunate.
The trail of damage was clear, due west from Viera to just south of Cocoa Beach and north of Patrick Air Force Base.
I could see all this real heavy rain coming down, and something I've never seen before.
Emergency management officials say nearly 300 homes had some sort of damage from the storm. Despite the large numbers, this has not been declared a disaster area. That would depend on a complex equation, including the total cost of the damage and how much is covered by insurance.
I thought we was being swallowed by the ocean, to be honest with you. That's what it sounded like.
But for many, it was a rude awakening they're not soon to forget. Now you can see the blue roofs have returned here to Viera. A lot of residents have been putting up the tarps this afternoon, making sure that they're covered before any more rain heads this way. It makes this situation any worse. Reporting live in Viera in Brevard County, Kevin Oliver, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
The tornado also caused a lot of damage on Merritt Island. Several houses along Del Sol Drive were hit hard. Tile was blown off roofs and trees were uprooted. One tree fell onto power lines, caught fire, and knocked out power to the neighborhood. The tornado's winds were so strong they bent a ham radio tower in half.
It just buckled over. I just can't imagine the amount of force to do that.
Emergency management told us they did not receive any reports of injuries, and there's no word on damage estimates just yet. That tornado was here and gone in a matter of minutes.
And certified meteorologist Brian Shields has been taking a close look at its track. And Brian, what did you find?
Oftentimes when you see a weaker tornado, relatively speaking, of course, they skip along. Sometimes they go up and come back down and do some damage. Here's a look outside early morning Doppler 9 HD. Quiet as can be right now. Also down into Brevard County. No rain to speak of. But earlier today, again this morning, this is the path of the tornado just south of Bonaventure over towards South Cocoa Beach, just north of Patrick Air Force Base. And again, it moved due west to east, skipping along its path, causing that damage. Here's a look at the radar imagery. You can see the purple popping up. Heavier showers and storms, of course, this morning. Just ahead, we'll talk more about when more storms will arrive back into central Florida. Bob.
Pool screens ripped apart, trees torn from their roots. This is just some of the damage an early morning tornado left behind. From the ground now to the sky, Sky 6 flew the same path the tornado took. Reporter David Sprung shows us what he saw from above.
I'm David Sprung at Sky 6. We're over in Brevard County in the Rockledge, Viera area. This is where the EF0 tornado touched down last night. And you can see this is the area of Jacques Drive and Crane Creek Boulevard. And there are some houses here that have their pool enclosures completely torn down. You can see this one here where all of the screen of the enclosure is gone, as well as the enclosure has been toppled over. Move next door, you can see a gentleman here looking at his home. Another mess here in the backyard. The pool area is completely cluttered with the screen enclosure. Now the path of this tornado took a little bit of a turn. It looks like it picked up and dropped back down. Right next to that person's house, you see this house here where roof tiles were completely taken off of the house. Now, the tornado went in between the houses, and it must have picked up because I'm not seeing a lot of damage except a couple of tiles here and some screens that were ripped off. So it almost looks like it touched down and lifted up. Right here, you'll see another home with the screen enclosure and some tiles ripped off, as well as their next door neighbor. There's a lot of tiles ripped off of this house. It looks like the tornado picked itself back up. Right here, you're going to have Honeymoon Lake. Now, Honeymoon Lake, everything around the lake looks pretty good, but just to the south of it, right around the Hacienda Drive State Road 3 area, it's going to be in this area here where we found a little bit more damage. Now Sky 6 is over the south end of Honeymoon Lake, and this is where we were able to find a little bit more damage. Most of the damage is going to be on the mainland side, so only a little bit of damage going across the Indian River. Now here you'll see there's a roof with a bunch of barrel tiles that have been completely torn off of this home, as well as some fascia of the house itself. As you can see here, I'll zoom in, you can see part of that paint has been torn off of the building. And then just look at these tiles. They were just thrown all over the place. High above Brevard County and Sky 6, I'm David Sprung.
A real tornado there, and drivers in Brevard County may be having an easier time on their home commute than they did this morning. Take a look, a semi-tractor trailer seen here turned over on its side. It was backing up traffic for hours in Melbourne on the southbound side of Interstate 95 near Wickham Road. The Florida Highway Patrol is investigating, but they believe it was probably weather that played a factor. We probably concur with that. Severe weather also likely played a role in downed trees all across central Florida. That's including here in Brevard County, where you can see emergency officials rushing through the streets of Viera or through someone's backyard, temporarily blocking traffic on some roadways. They're the rushing emergency vehicles. I didn't write that. When it said likely played a role in the down, yeah. I would say that weather was probably the sole cause of that.
I'd say so too. We had no nuclear
Unless it was Godzilla or something.
It was weather. It was an ugly, ugly night.